Episode 3, Next Generation Leadership, Bruce Wirt, Mayka Rosales, Peterson. And Mayka, we have an awesome guest coming up today, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But I just want to remind everybody, if this is the first time that you've stumbled upon this fine podcast, go back and find us. Search for Next Generation Leadership on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast.
Wherever you listen to your music and your podcast, please, we're on there.
Subscribe. And rate and review. That's how we grow. And we hope that you're growing from listening to the fantastic conversations we're having. We had Ken Mercer on, telecom executive, veteran.
Nancy Ridge.
Nancy Ridge last week. And who do we got this week?
So today we have Tina Gravel, and she is an award-winning executive, author, public speaker, and she is such a powerhouse in the tech space. I can't wait to pick her brain and get some information out of this legend.
I met Tina Gravel for the first time at an event called Tech Connect. And I think we were in Arizona. I don't remember exactly, but she was dancing around the stage in a cowboy hat or cowgirl hat. And
you have to ask her about that.
I'm going to do that. My wife said too, just before we get into it, she's like, everything that you do, all of your videos, you're wearing a quarter zip with a shirt under it. People are going to think that you either record all these things on the same day or you wear the same thing all the time. So make sure your colors are a little bit different each time. So this is maroon.
So you changed it today?
The last one was blue. Yeah.
Awesome, Bruce. You got to love your wife. She's the only one that would point that out.
Very helpful. Amanda.
Gotta love her.
Don't friend her on Facebook, but you can find her on LinkedIn. She's an Audible reader. So if you're writing books and you want somebody that's really talented at reading and getting your stuff on Audible, she's the person. Same last name.
Really good too.
Cheap plug.
Really, really good.
All right. Tina Gravel from Appgate is coming up on the other side of the break. Don't go away. Next Generation Leadership with my friend Mayka, and we'll be back after you listen to this Telesystem commercial.
In a world where businesses are striving to adapt, connect, and evolve, we're here to bring you more. More freedom to work how and where you want while keeping employees connected, productive, and engaged. More flexibility to customize solutions to tailor a simple, more agile network. And more security for an evolving cyber landscape with around-the-clock access to hands-on technical support. It's time to explore more.
Welcome back. Next Generation Leadership, Bruce Wirt, Mayka Rosales, Peterson. And Mayka, we've been talking about an awesome guest that I'm a little upset about. I'll get into that a little bit later on, but go ahead. Who do we have?
Oh my God, we have Tina Gravel here. How are you? Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate you.
Well, I'm very honored to be here, and thanks for having me. I'm very fond of you. So when you asked me,
everybody's fond of Mayka.
Yeah, how can you not be, right? What's not to like?
Yeah.
Oh Lord, it's not about me, guys.
It's all about you
today. So Tina, you are such a powerhouse. Like, I've been watching you on LinkedIn. I've been following you because you're so amazing. You have such an incredible brand presence. How did you get here? Because I know your path was a little different. You weren't supposed to be in IT.
Yeah, I wasn't. I had left school and immediately thought that I was going to be, going to law school and become a lawyer. That was the thing in my family that you did. And most of my time was spent at Amherst College. And you come out of there thinking you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, or an author or something. It wasn't. I wasn't prepared to be a salesman. We'll put it that way. But law school was too much for me at the time, and I was running out of money. And I asked a friend to help me, retain a position. And I was put. He knew me better than I knew myself. He said, "You'd be a great salesperson." And so I went to work for Mobile Chemical. And what I found out there is that I could sell, but that I didn't like the idea of a consumer brand. I did not like the idea of something that was more commoditized. I liked the idea, something that would take some digging to sell. And I started doing the research about, medical devices, computers, things like that, things that would maybe use my education a little bit more, because I am very curious. That is definitely my personality. And I ended up getting offers from DEC back then. You're too young to even know who that is. But Mayka, that's a company that used to be, and IBM. And I was dating a person, and we were in a bar near the airport in Chicago, and his boss came in. And I was talking to him, and this fellow I was dating said, "Oh, she's about to go to work for either IBM or DEC. What do you think she should do?" And he said, "Well, why aren't you coming to work for us?" And he, little did I know, McDonnell Douglas was facing, reporting to the EEOC and needing, minority hires, because they were working with the federal government. And so they desperately needed women and minorities. And I guess he figured if I was good enough for IBM and DEC, I was good enough for them. And the thing about McDonnell Douglas was that they had a very extensive training program. I mean, theirs put IBM's to shame, and IBM had a fantastic one. Plus they were going to pay me $7,000 more money. And back then, being so young, I just thought that sounded wonderful. And they had a brand, and it was a big name to me. Now, of course, at the time, I think my dad said, "Why would you work for anybody other than IBM and be in computers?" I did get a little of that. But it was really a wonderful thing, and I loved working there. And so that got me started. And they taught us how to program, and they taught us the technology, and it was a long, long training program. And when I came out of there, ready, ready to sell technology with a lot of good background. So a kind of training they just don't do anymore. And I feel very, very fortunate.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to say is it's almost gone by the wayside. Now it's like, take 2 online classes and get out in the field. And if you don't succeed, we're going to replace you with the next person. It's so much different than it used to be. And I think, I'm kind of in between. I think there's intense pressure in this marketplace to perform as a company. So you need people to be productive and successful faster than maybe it was 30 or 40 years ago. But there should be some kind of a happy medium where you're not just sending people out there saying, "All right, go do it," with no product knowledge.
Yeah.
And product knowledge is a lost art, I feel like, in this day and age.
Yeah, I think the selling component and the product knowledge, go hand in hand. I'm very fortunate. Appgate, I don't know if we had a really good week this week. We announced that we're going to be going public, and
Nice.
we're doing a merger with Newtown, and it's just fantastic. But one of the things that we've been doing really well, even as a smaller company, is onboarding our employees. And we have a gentleman that runs it, and he's just fantastic. And that has done a world of difference for us, because as folks come in now, they're getting a nice, and it's not extensive, but it just helps so much, because you're not, and they've said to me, I've gotten so much more than I've gotten from other companies, and thank you. And we have disruptive technology. So if we didn't do that, it just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't. They'd be floundering, and it would take them a lot longer to hit the ground running. So it's kind of like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? We better just put the time in, otherwise we'll waste it. So, you're going to pay.
Real quick before Mayka asks, she's got a whole list. So
I just want to know so much. I had something right there.
Go ahead. I just hold it, write it down.
Okay, I'm holding it.
We can't get away
from. You two are funny. You two are really funny. You know this?
Try to be entertaining.
I'm holding it.
I love it.
The lawyer stuff. So I think, and I didn't want to get too far away from this. My favorite show is Boston Legal all time.
Oh yeah, me too.
Alan Shore,
Great
James,
show. Oh.
Denny Crane.
Oh,
And
love those guys. Yeah.
I always look and sales and the courtroom is so
Yes.
similar because
Yes.
the lawyer is just doing the same thing we're doing. They're just selling to a jury. And
Yes.
I've always felt like when I was growing up, I always was going to do something like this. And my parents used to say, you're born to be a lawyer because you just keep shifting your message until you get what you want. And I ended up, as an executive in sales. And I think they're very similar. So
Well, they are.
probably a similar path for you either way.
There's
right?
a tenacity that you have to have to win an argument. Okay. And I believe that is something that makes salespeople, that sort of, separates the wheat from the chaff, right?
Yeah.
That tenacity, you have to have it. When they say no, that just invites you to come back after, right? With it.
Yeah.
And then doing the research to understand those differentiators so that you have your argument prepared ahead of time. These are things that you must do to prepare, for any kind of an argument, whether it be verbal, a verbal report in a legal brief or in a courtroom. So I think that's a very smart analogy, and I would agree. Now, a lawyer that's gone through 3 years of grueling law school would probably find that highly insulting. But you know what? In most cases, we make more money than they do. So
I was going to say,
I don't
sometimes we
care.
make more money.
I don't care. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. All right, Mayka, what was on the tip of your tongue?
Yes. So you say tenacity and resilience, right? When you started in this industry, there wasn't a lot of women. How were you able to maneuver and grow and face adversity as the minority? Like, what did you do? Because you're such a powerhouse and you're like, you're everywhere now. So what did you do?
Well, what's interesting is that first sales class that I was a part of, I believe out of 25 people that were in it, there were very few white males. And those that were in that class were outstanding candidates. They were probably out of the military, MBAs, just phenomenal. If you looked at me and what I had to offer, and you had me next to one of them, I was completely outgunned. I can remember going to a presentation and being in front of all of the class, in addition to some executives, and never presenting like that before, and falling apart in front of them. Okay, I was highly intimidated, but I'm not the kind of person that likes to fail. And so I kept at it, okay? And I came back the next day and I was able to do it. And there were some real kind gentlemen there that were running the training that helped me, and I'll never forget it. After 5 years, I was one of only 2 of the minority candidates left in that class.
Wow.
So I can't tell you why, except that, like I said, there was something in me that really wanted it to work. The other thing that happened is that I became a #1 sales rep there. And I had the president tell people I made more money than he did. And that kind of confidence was applied to me. And it took a long time for it to sink in. Clearly, are you talking about me? Hello? What? I'd go up on stage, I'd get the awards, thank you. I was cashing the checks and spending as, clearly, but I wasn't internalizing it for a long time. It took me an awfully long time. And I'm still coming into my own, so it's not done yet. I've got another chapter here, so
that's one of those 4 P's that I always talk about: perseverance. And the last 2 things that you talked about were really perseverance, fighting through adversity. And that is such a key component to success. Find your purpose, do it with passion, but perseverance really is going to take you to that next level. So, so important.
And I
Yeah.
love that attitude that you have, that your chapter is not done, right?
Mhm.
You know, and I feel like every single day we have a story to write in our journey. And, you know, we always have to have that mentality that, you know, it's never really done.
Mhm.
And I love that you have that.
Absolutely. You know, the good thing is, and I don't know if this is age or if this is knowledge, I really don't know. I'd like to think that I'm wiser. But when I was younger, I think I was motivated by fear a lot, fear of failing. I tend to be motivated more now by wanting to be excellent, wanting to do my best. And that to me, I think is more sustainable. And I think that I don't know, it just feels better than always
Yeah,
being frightened, you know? Yeah.
most definitely. And so what men have you seen help you during that journey? Because, you know, Bruce is my ally.
That's
100%.
awesome. Well, I have, you know, our CEO and our CRO are just at Appgate. I mean, and I'm not just saying this because I don't have to. I don't have to tell you anything about these guys, right? And our chairman, they have out of the three I've worked with for, or goodness, since 2007, long time.
Yeah.
And one of them I've worked with since 2000. And so, I mean, I know them very, very well, and they know me, and they are just phenomenal people. And the other gentleman I've only worked with for about a year, and he is one of the best managers I've ever worked with. So I'm very, very fortunate that I am continuing to be around people that appreciate me, help me grow, our mentor quality management. I can see them and I can see things in them that they're continuing, to get better at, and it helps me want to continue. We're all not sitting still here. We're going from being 100 million or so to now we're going to be a billion,
Yeah.
and that's going to stretch us all. I think my friend, the CEO, sent me a text that said, "Buckle up." He didn't say buttercup, but he said, "Buckle up." So I always was like, "Woo!" I know it's coming. But I can't wait. This is going to exercise new muscles, and it's fun, and it's a little bit scary, and it's very exciting. Now, I'm just going to warn you about something. I'm on the third floor of my home on the lake in Indiana, and I can see out the window that the Amazon truck has pulled up.
It's okay.
There's going to be
And
animal barking, right?
I have dogs.
Yeah.
And he's not going to come all the way up the stairs, but if he does, and he does ring the bell, just saying.
It's okay.
All right.
We have a big sign outside that says, "Do not ring the doorbell." Something about animals will bark, children will wake
That's a
up,
good
and we will
idea.
be really mad.
You know what? I'm going to do that. I think
Get
that's an excellent idea. That's an excellent idea. Yeah.
The thing that you'll hear from me is I'm in the basement. That's my pandemic office, and you see I got my collection of memorabilia back there.
I was just going to say that looks awesome. Yeah.
But I get my 2-year-old running back and forth. The kitchen's right above us, and on the hardwood floor, her steps are very hard.
Yeah.
That's
She's got to get her footing. She's still getting her footing, right? Yeah.
I guess that's everyone's reality in this pandemic, right? You're going to see kids running around. You're going to hear dogs bark. It's just our new normal, right?
Yeah, it is. It is our new normal, and parts of it are so charming.
Yeah.
Well,
you experience people. In the old days, a year ago. Literally a year ago, when you're on a call and your dog barks, you're so embarrassed. And your kids in the background, oh my God, they're going to know I'm not in the office. And now we get to meet your dog and we get to know your kids. And as much as we're kept apart, we're together more than we've ever been before. And it's amazing.
It is amazing. I don't know if you're aware, I wrote a chapter in a book.
I was gonna just ask you about that.
Yeah, now I'm part of a #1 bestseller on Amazon, and it's called Leading Through the Pandemic, Unconventional Wisdom. No, what is it? I always get this wrong.
Leading through the
I,
pandemic.
I should get this right, but it's leading through the pandemic, and it's wisdom from unconventional leaders, and there's 25 of us, and we all contributed a chapter. And my title is From 5-Star Hotels to 5 Hours of Zoom. But one of the things that I share is that the humanness of being able to see, first of all, you can't be uptight about this stuff, right? It's just happening. It's like it's all happening, right? And we're getting to know these. I invite the kids into the frame when I hear them.
That gives me anxiety when my son is like over here screaming.
Oh no, you know what? I just invite them in. It calms everybody down. The child enjoys it. I love seeing the children and the animals. To me, that's fun. But what's interesting is that everybody just calms down when you pull it in. It's just a crazy phenomenon. When we try to push it away, it stresses everybody out. And it's a real good metaphor, I think, for how life works. When we try to force things, I think that's like kind of like a Buddhist thing, although I'm that's not my religion. I think there's something to be said for kind of going with the flow when they say go with the flow. And I've never been a go with the flow gal. I've always been so type A, so driven that it actually became a hindrance, not
it affects your mental health,
and that's
like the pandemic is doing that.
That's what happened. So I do talk about that. It's a very personal story. I talk about how I was depressed, how the non-traveling and the non-public speaking, how that, it affected my ego. It affected how I felt about myself, and the not running hard, that really affected me. And what happened is quite a beautiful thing, actually, because what it did is it forced me to really look at myself. And what was happening is that in the stillness that I've been able to enjoy, I've learned things, and I've become happier, much happier. And I hope that I can keep this going, and that I don't automatically jump right back in to a situation when it comes back. I don't think I will. I think we're all going to, this whole thing about, oh, they need you at a meeting in London, and then you have to be in California, and then, I hope that we've learned that's not necessary anymore. And I hope that I put some discipline in my travels so that it becomes reasonable and somewhat healthy. Not like it was, because I was so unhealthy.
Yeah, I remember you telling me, a couple of weeks ago that you felt like you were rushing through life, and that was affecting yourself, like your everything.
I mentioned in the chapter that my parents used to say that I had 2 speeds, 90 miles an hour and asleep.
Yep.
That's what they used to say. And a very smart supervisor once said to me, yes, you do everything fast. And it wasn't a compliment, and I thought, what does he mean by that? Never quite explored it at the time. I almost didn't want to know, because I didn't see myself changing, but anyway.
I always tell people you have to slow down and understand what you're doing. And I think Mayka knows this. I say
I'll do that all the time.
It's not about checking it off your list to make sure you did it, but understanding it, understanding everything about it, and then performing it in your own vision. So not just executing somebody else's vision, which you're ultimately going to do, but it's your spin. It's like, Randy Jackson on American Idol used to say, make it your own, dog. And you really have to do that. You're going to perform the best, especially in sales, if it's your message coming from in here, not a script that you're reading from out there.
Absolutely.
Authenticity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And more than ever, because because the pandemic, the one thing that it's done, I think, is it's put everybody on such edge and such exhaustion that no one wants BS anymore,
Right.
Yeah.
clearly, right?
Yeah, we're living in a weird time, but I hope that everyone learns from it because I think it's intentional.
Yeah, I hope I have. I don't really want to go backwards to where I was.
I know.
don't.
You there?
Leadership. You mentioned mentorship and people that have pushed you. Mike and I were talking before the show, just doing some prep. My belief is, and I'm a very empathetic leader. At least I think I am. There's probably, I don't know, 50 or 60 people that worked for me in the past that'll say, yeah, BS, and leave some comments on the iTunes store. But I feel like I'm very empathetic. But the one thing that is important to me as a leader is transparency. Not, I want you to know exactly what I think and where I think you can improve, but I'm also open to your feedback on why you did what you did. And if your way is better than what I thought and I'm missing something, I'm very open to changing. And I think that is something that leaders sometimes miss, and it's all about slowing down and processing. There's some leaders that just want to do it their way. So leaders that you've worked under and then people that you've led, how has that influenced you, and what ultimately is your style of leadership?
When I was a young manager, that I was exactly what you detest. I wanted everybody to do it exactly as I had done it because I was successful at it. And I thought, if you do it just like I have done it, you will be successful too.
Yeah.
I
I was
had
there
no
too,
idea.
by the way.
I had no idea. And then I had someone say to me, Tina, somebody much higher up, Tina, if your people, this is exactly his exact words, if your people were happy, because they're very successful now, but can you imagine how much more successful they'd be if they were happy? And I said, they're not happy? He said, no. And I had to do a lot of work on emotional, the emotional IQ or Q and self-awareness, and it's still going on. But the one thing I will say is that my style now is very transparent. It's very you could talk to anybody that works for me, they will tell you exactly where they stand with me. I share a lot. I also will share my own struggles, what I can share. I mean, you still have to filter because you're a leader, and you don't, you still have to be a leader. You have to have boundaries, right?
People can't come all the way in, because then there can be a respect factor.
Exactly.
And my wife reminds me of that every once in a while, because I do
Yes.
tend to, I'm a very empathetic and personal person.
Me too.
And you do make mistakes sometimes about letting people in, and I think it does blur the lines, and it can cause just respect when you see somebody and they know about mistakes that you're making on a personal level, that maybe bleeds in, and they look at you less on a professional level. So I do think you have to be careful. I like that you said that.
I've hired friends.
Mhm.
They weren't my friends before, but then, you change jobs, they become friends, and then they come back. And, I've had to work really hard to keep the boundaries where they need to be. In
Mhm.
fact, it even happened with me, the current CEO we have. He and I became friends when I was away from work. Well, we were peers, and then we were friends. And then, of course, he moved up in the company, he stayed, I left, and came back. And I've gone to him and I've said, how do you do it? How do you compartmentalize like that? And he's given me some tips, and so I've gotten better at it. But it was a challenge at first, and there were people that I couldn't work with again because they couldn't get the boundary part. They just couldn't make that. They couldn't change. When I tried to keep it separate, they just couldn't get it. It just, it was too hard for them. And so, they moved on, and we're still friends outside work,
Right. Yeah, there's a boundary in the workspace, and that's why you have to set expectations and manage to expectations. And if you do that and you just stay in that framework, then and you're constantly communicative, then I think the boundaries can exist naturally, right? There's no blurred lines. But I think it's very hard though when you're friends with somebody to really deliver hard messages, or you're too hard. I mean, that can happen too.
Well, or they think you're harder on them.
Yeah.
I would get that,
Yep.
you're, and I didn't think I was, but I may have been,
All right. I met you for the first time, I think maybe 3 years ago. And I was very upset because Telesystem had just become a provider in what we call in the telecommunications world, the alliance partners. And shout out to Bill Power and Tim Bassa. They did a great job of putting that organization together. Bill, chairing it or leading it. Lots of great people. Karen Fields.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
stop
We
naming
love those
names.
guys.
Yeah.
A good,
They're awesome.
if you're listening, Bill and Tim, we love you. We love you. Yeah.
So they put on this great event called Tech Connect, and we all got to go out. I forget where the destinations were, but there were two pretty good destinations.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of fun, and we all presented to the alliance, and we presented to the partners, and everybody had their own gimmick. And I felt like Telesystem at the time, we had a strong presentation. And then I met this Tina lady who went up on stage and sang the Beverly Hillbillies song and had costumes. And I'm like, well, now we have no chance.
Who does she think she is?
And of course, you win the award, and you were a villain in my life up until about, 42 minutes ago.
See what you were missing. We could have been friends all this time.
All the time, right?
Well, I have to tell you, that whole concept, that whole thing came together the night before. And what had happened was, we had a real straight presentation about co-location. I was working for Cyxtera at the time, a cousin of Appgate. Actually, Appgate and Cyxtera, Appgate was part of Cyxtera, and we split off last year. So anyway, I was thinking about, I had seen a bunch of these presentations. So I went to the team the night before and I said, I'm watching the audience and I'm seeing the audience. I'm like, they are
Working on their computers, right?
They are falling asleep. This is terrible. And I want to win that award. We've got to do something that's going to, get their attention, And I said, and I've come up with something. So anyway, so I tell them the idea. I said, we got to go down to the store. We got to buy some cowboy hats. And we're going to talk about the agent is going to be a fella named Jed, who was a poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed until he came across some gold called Cyxtera Colo, and one of the guys is going to drive the car, and I'll sing, I'll make the fool of myself. You guys got it. Somebody else got to be Granny, and so well, they loved it.
I know.
So one of my best works of art. Well, let me finish. Let me do the postscript though. Okay.
All right.
Once you come up with brilliance like that, you have to top it.
Yeah.
The next year.
Expectations are real high after that.
Okay, so the next year, of course, we are Appgate, and we are showing up with our security solution. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do who shot the sheriff? No, it was something. Oh, who let the dogs out? I don't know. It was some kind of a song with you know, we're locking people up. We're gonna, you know, we're gonna get the law out. And it was a song, oh, Bad to the Bone.
Bad to the bone.
Oh,
Bad.
Yeah.
I was dressed up like a policeman. And none of my team would go on stage with me over that one. They didn't want to. They were actually going around with bags of money that had a promotion on it, and they were dressed as the bad guys, you know, with the bags of money, and they were, you know, but they didn't want to go on stage dressed up this time, and they were smart. They were smarter than me, you know. And so, you know, it just goes to show that, you know, what lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place usually.
Right.
So.
Well, listen, I want to tell you that when Mayka, you know, we go through the guest list and she mentioned your name, and I said, oh, the lady with the cowboy hat. And she had no idea what I'm talking
I was
about.
like, I don't know what he's talking about, but okay.
It took me a minute to remember too, quite honestly. I had to think about what could it have. I mean, I have had moments of sanity over the years, you know, couple here, there, and that not that many. So,
Well, go ahead, Mayka.
Well, Tina, if you can leave us with one tip and one advice, what would it be?
I got this from a gentleman that I worked for years ago named Mike Schiff, and I use it all the time, and I nearly have to use it every single day. And it is the following: never let yourself get too spun up, too happy or sad over anything. Because chances are it's not as good or as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amen.
It's really not. Our emotions take us places all the time. And much of the time, it's what's in our head isn't always the reality of what's really going on. And so if you manage yourself and you kind of think about it and think, you know, this is a feeling, this might not be for real, you know, you'll find that in a few days it probably wasn't as bad as you thought, you know, or as good. That's the problem, you know, when we're elated over something. And that's, you know, and that's really what goes on in selling. And, you know, I run the indirect channel at Appgate, and it's easy to get excited over good news, and it's easy to get down about, you know, things. And it's my job to keep my people, you know, fairly even if I can, while also having a good time. And so I think about it a lot. So that's what I'll leave you with. Yeah.
You know, it's funny, and said in a different way, that's where the term "sleep on it" comes from, I think.
Right.
Because there's so many times that, you know, you go to bed at night and, you know, you just had something awful happen, or, you know, dreadful news came,
Right.
and you wake up the next day and you say to yourself, well, it's not that bad. Or, you know, you're elated over some piece of news, and you wake up the next day and you're like, well, that's silly, it's not that good. And you really everything kind of evens out. So I always encourage people, sleep on it before you truly have your reaction, because it's not quite as much as your brain makes it out to be in the moment.
That's right. That's a good one, Bruce. I like it. Sleep on it. Why don't you go sleep on it?
Sleep
Go
on it.
sleep on it.
Yeah, sleep on it. Yeah. Get my
Tina.
cowboy hat. I don't have that hat. I left it in
You don't
San
have the
Antonio.
cowboy hat
I
today.
did not take it home on the plane. I left it for the housekeeper.
I like you a lot better than I liked you 48 minutes ago. This
Okay.
was great to get inside your mind. I can't wait to read the book. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go out and get that right away.
It's 99 cents Kindle on Kindle. It's not expensive. 99 cents. And if you continue to be nice to me, I will send you both a paperback version signed by me.
Oh, that would be awesome.
All right. Okay.
Now I really like you.
For
I
having
really,
me.
really
Thank
like.
you for
I
having
always
me.
like Tina. I always like Tina. So
Oh, well, thank you. I'm a warrior for women in tech and in the channel, and you know, anything I can do to help with that. And I just want to applaud you, Bruce,
Thank you.
for having Mayka in such a visible position because she's wonderful and she should be. And so on that note,
You.
thanks.
She's earned it, and I
Earned
never
it.
Very hard.
allow anybody to give me any credit for that. And I've told this story enough times about Mike's
Yeah.
start. But Tina, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome conversation. This is exactly what we like to do. We like to humanize business and really get inside the minds of people. So we really appreciate it. And we will see you on the road someday. I know it.
Oh, yeah.
When we get back to
Okay.
hotels. I forget how you characterized it. You said hotels to Zoom meeting. What was it? 5 hour?
5 stars to 5 hours is
I like
right.
that. I like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
All right. Watch
Thank you,
this
guys.
Telesystem commercial. We'll be back on the other side to wrap it up. Next generation leadership. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
In a world where businesses are striving to adapt, connect, and evolve, we're here to bring you more. More freedom to work how and where you want while keeping employees connected, productive, and engaged. More flexibility to customize solutions to tailor a simple, more agile network. And more security for an evolving cyber landscape with around-the-clock access to hands-on technical support. It's time to explore more.
Next generation leadership, Mayka. We had such an awesome conversation with Tina Gravel, who I think I called Gravel last week, so I'm very sorry.
Yes, it's Tina Gravel, and it was so good. Oh my God, so much substance there that I'm like, I had to take so many notes. I have to re-listen to this again.
You know, we're kind of this is our third episode, and by the way, please subscribe: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. Soon to be on iHeartRadio. Looking to get into radio.com. This show is growing. This podcast is growing. YouTube, just the weird thing about YouTube is they have to subscribe to Telesystem, and people are probably like, I'm not subscribing to Telesystem. I'm a competitor. So find the link. I mean, just find us, connect on YouTube, on LinkedIn. And, you know, we post a lot. So find the links to the shows, but subscribe on the audio platforms because this is a growing show. We're bringing you the best minds in business. It's not just going to be telecom, folks. I know that's what we did the first 3 episodes because, you know, we had to get our feet on the ground.
Right. But it's going to be so substantive. There's so many guests that are in various industries that are going to have so many amazing things to say. And, you know, I can't wait until they're on and you guys listen.
Yeah. Well, next week, maybe we'll give a sneak peek into our Q2 guest list because you're going to be amazed. There's some big A-list names coming up.
Yes. Really, really big names coming up. But the next one.
Who's next?
We have Reggie Scales, who's
Reggie.
the EVP and GM of the Applications Group in America at Vonage, which is a very long title. I think EVP and GM at Vonage. Nice.
And Reggie's been all over. I mean, he was a Paytech guy for 12 years. Paytech is one of those companies where people, Windstream eventually bought Paytech, but people identify with Paytech because it was such a strong brand. And very much like Telesystem, they were solutions oriented. They cared about the customer. Wasn't about price. It was about delivering the best solution. And they had such a great culture. People loved Paytech. So run talk to Reggie about that. And
and he was also the VP and GM at Comcast. So he had a very incredible career so far. Can't wait.
Heavy hitter. That's the work that you're doing.
Heavy hitter.
It's the work that you're doing.
Yeah, we definitely figure it out. And it's going to be an awesome list. And I can't wait until Reggie Scales is on and we can pick his brain.
All right, rate and review on iTunes. That helps us grow. Subscribe on whatever platform you actually listen on. And until next time, which is about 2 weeks from now, we'll drop a new episode. This is for Mayka Rosales Peterson. I'm Bruce Wirt. We'll talk to you on Next Generation Leadership. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.